So one of the things that molecular biologists, synthetic biologists, and scientists in general often need to do is to control the temperature of their reactions. So one of the pieces of equipment that we're going to need to build is a device called a heat block that's going to enable us to control the temperature that our cells are growing at or that our reactions are taking place in. So this piece of equipment right here is what you might see in a professional lab, and this is something known as a heat block. And so this is the commercial equivalent of the device that we're going to build. And so one of the things that you'll notice is there are parts of it that are going to look similar to the parts of your heat block device that you're building. So it has a big piece of metal with holes drilled in it, and your samples are going to go in little tubes that go in these holes. And that gets put into a device that has controls for controlling the temperature, and it gets plugged into an electrical outlet, because the way these devices heat materials is they're going to control the temperature by controlling the amount of electricity that goes into the device. All right, so let's look at the materials that are in your kit, and I'll go through and tell you what each of them is. All right, so the first piece that's in your kit is the heat block itself, and this is just a piece of aluminum, and it's in a plastic mount, and it's got holes drilled in it. There are 4 holes for samples, and the hole in the center is for a temperature probe. So it's an electronic type of thermometer, and that's going to tell us how warm our heat block is. Underneath the aluminum block on one side, you'll see a slot. That's the slot you want facing you when you assemble your device, because this is where our little heating chip is going to go. So if you set that in front of you with that hole facing you, then you'll be all set to assemble the device. So the next piece that's in your kit is the AC adapter, and it has 3 parts. It has a cord that has a 3-prong plug on one end, and then the black end is going to plug into this rectangular box here that's labeled K-star in green. And the last part is this little adapter piece right here. It has a green plastic end that has 2 holes in it. And we're going to take that right now, and we're going to attach it to the nozzle that's on the end of the cord that's attached to the box labeled K-star. So we're just going to do that right now. And we're going to take the plug, and we're going to insert it into the K-star box. Okay? So now all the parts of our AC adapter have been assembled. All right. So the next item in your kit is what's known as a Peltier temperature controller chip, and this has a red and black wire attached to a white square, and this is really the thing that's going to be getting hot and heating your aluminum block. So this is a really cool little device, and we're going to wire it into our AC adapter. And the final item in your kit is this monstrosity here that has multiple cords coming off of it. This is actually a temperature controller for an aquarium, but what we're going to use it for is we're going to use it to control the amount of current that is going through our chip so that it will heat to just the temperature we want. Okay? And it has multiple parts. It's got the 3-prong plug that goes into an electrical outlet. It has a little power strip right here, and our AC adapter is going to plug into this power strip and not into a regular outlet. And then the final piece is the temperature probe that I mentioned. It just looks like a little metal rod, and this is actually a thermometer, and when we stick it into our heat block, it's going to tell us what the temperature is. So now we're going to assemble our heat block, and it's very important that you do things in the order I've described in this video so that you don't get burned and you don't get shocked. So the very first thing we're going to do is we are going to take our AC adapter, the K-star unit, and we're going to take its plug, and we're going to plug this plug into the little miniature power outlet strip that is attached to the Inkbird temperature controller. So I'm going to do that right now. Okay. All right, so now we don't have anything plugged into a live outlet yet, so we don't have to worry about shocking ourselves or burning ourselves. So the next thing we're going to do is we are now going to wire the Peltier chip and attach it to the power source, the AC adapter. So we're going to attach the temperature controller chip to our AC adapter. So I want you to take the black wire, and you'll notice that the end has exposed metal, and we're going to insert that wire into the left-hand side of the green adapter. So if you just push it in, and to get it to stay a little better into that slot, you can bend the wire a little bit, just so that it kind of wraps around and doesn't slide out. Then you're going to take the red wire and you're going to insert it into the right-hand side slot. And again, you can bend the wire a little bit just to get it to stay in there a little better. Now, to make sure that these are secure, what we want to do is we want to take a small piece of electrical tape. So I have my electrical tape, and I'm just going to secure the wires with that piece of electrical tape. So you want to take a piece that's maybe about a 1/2 inch long, and you're just going to place it over where the wires are inserted into the adapter and just secure the wires so that they don't slip out. Okay. So what's going to happen is electricity is going to run through the wires, and the side of the chip that has the letters on it is going to get warm, and the other side is actually going to get cold. Okay. And so we want the warm side to be underneath our aluminum block, so that when this gets warm, the whole block gets warm, so it can warm our samples. So that's what this little hole underneath the block is for. So we're just going to slide with the letter side up. You're going to slide it into that hole. Okay. And now we have our heat block assembled, and the last thing we need to do is plug it in. So we have our heat block assembled, and we have the AC adapter plugged into the Inkbird temperature controller, and we're ready now to plug the whole thing into an electrical outlet so that we can use it to heat our heat block. So now you're just going to take the plug that's on the Inkbird controller, and you're going to plug it into a regular wall outlet. So our heat block is assembled, and we've got it plugged into an outlet. And so now I'm going to show you how to set the temperature and how to use the temperature probe to measure the temperature. So our temperature controller is plugged in, and we're now going to learn how to set it to a particular temperature. So you'll notice that there are 2 boxes that have numbers in them. The top box is telling you what temperature the temperature probe is measuring. So right now, the temperature of the room is 71.8 degrees Fahrenheit. The temperature that's listed on the bottom, 68 degrees Fahrenheit, this is the temperature that my controller is set to control and keep my heat block at. So when this is plugged into the heat block, it is making sure that the heat block is at that temperature. So the first thing we have to do, because we're scientists and we're doing science, is we have to get this to read in the correct units. Okay, so scientists use units of degrees Celsius, not degrees Fahrenheit. So to change the units from Fahrenheit to Celsius, we're going to press the set button for 3 seconds until the number on the top changes. Then we're going to press that button 3 more times. So I'm going to press and hold for 3 seconds. And now I'm going to press 1, 2, 3 more times until the top reads CF. I'm going to use the arrows to change what's in the bottom from Fahrenheit F to Celsius C. Then I'm going to press the set button and hold it for 3 seconds. And now it shows my temperature up above in degrees Celsius. So our 70-degree room is actually 21.9 degrees Celsius. Okay. So the next thing we want to do is we want to be able to tell the controller to keep our heat block at a certain temperature. So I'm going to put my temperature probe into the heat block. The temperature that is red on the top is going to be what the temperature of my heat block is. So to set the temperature, I'm going to press and hold the set button for 3 seconds. When that top number changes to TS1, that stands for my set temperature 1. So I'm going to set this to 37 degrees. 37 degrees is actually body temperature. So 37 degrees Celsius is 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. So many of the bacteria that we work with in the synthetic biology lab are bacteria that are naturally found in humans, and they like to be at body temperature. So if I hold this down, the numbers will go faster. And then I'm going to slow down when I get close to 37. And there it is. So I'm going to press the set button a second time. And this DS1 is a value that's going to say how tightly the temperature controller is going to control the temperature. And we want to set that to 0.5 degrees Celsius because we want our temperature to not vary that much. Once we've set that value to 0.5, we're going to hold the set button down for 3 seconds. And now we've set our temperature controller to heat our heat block to 37 degrees Celsius. So right now it's at 27.9 degrees Celsius. It's going to take a while for it to warm up, but you can see that it is already warming up. It's 28.2 degrees Celsius right now. So we have a working heat block now, and it's heating our aluminum block up. And you can touch the aluminum block at the temperatures we're going to be using for our experiments, and it's not too hot. But very important that even though you can pull on the wires and slide this chip out, do not touch the chip when it's plugged in and heating because you could get burned. So I'm going to actually take my scissors to push this back in. All right. So the second safety thing that I want to make sure that I emphasize is that you never plug the K-Star AC adapter into anything other than the small power strip that's attached to the Inkbird controller. And that way you'll make sure that you don't overheat the Peltier chip and get a burn.